All right, guys, we're back here with Shattered Darkness. This is episode number 62. My name is Mitch, and I'm joined, as always, with my good buddy Cash. And today we have our guest. It's Amber Krause. We'll introduce her here in a second. I just want to go through a few housekeeping items. I obviously just want to plug Love Shack real quick. That's where we record our podcast. And if you guys have not heard of Love Shack, it's Northern Colorado's only mocktail bar. And it's a great event space, huge space in downtown Loveland. It's over 5,000 square feet. Coffee, food, mocktail drinks. It's a really fun environment. So everything that's happening around sobriety, at least with our network and our group, is happening here at the Love Shack. So come down, check it out, 120 East 4th Street. I also just want to take a second to plug Cash and I's real estate businesses. Those are sponsors of, and Elliot, sorry. Those are sponsors of the podcast as well. So I'm in residential real estate. I've been doing that for 13 years here in Northern Colorado. So any buyers, sellers, moving situations, I can help with that. Cash owns a roofing company here locally as well. And so we work together. Cash does roofs, residential roofs, not commercial yet, but maybe someday.
We do some commercial.
And then Elliot is starting a production company for real estate. So like agent previews, videos of properties, things like that. So those four businesses are really what is supporting this podcast and helping us drive that forward. So if you guys need help in any of those spaces, please let us know. With that, I don't know, did I miss anything? I don't think I did. Cool.
Let's party.
All right. So with that, we're going to get into Amber's story. So I just want to take a second to introduce Amber Krause. How are you?
I'm good. Doing good today.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So I just want to say this too. I met Amber, gosh, it's probably been 2 years maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
So very recently out of rehab for me, I met Amber, and she was really one of the founding people that helped me start Beyond the Buzz. So she has an awesome story. And with that, we're just going to kind of get into your story.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm Amber. I'm a native to Northern Colorado, Fort Collins specifically. I had a decent childhood for the most part with my family dynamic, but not so much my school dynamic. My life started really kind of getting hard around third grade when I was bullied to the point that no one in my grade would talk to me. Because there were these three guys one of them actually ended up in juvie. So he was not sane of mind. And I was the kid they chose to prey on at the time. So that really set the tone for a lot of things in my school life, like needing to be accepted and needing to find those friends, and like being also kind of hard to trust certain people, because two of the kids that joined that one that went to juvie were my friends before that happened. So when they started kind of following him and started picking on me, it was really, really hard to find trust again in people. So I would like scatter myself in different friend groups. Like I didn't really have an identity in my school years because I was just trying to fit in with everybody and anyone.
Right.
What else? My family, my mom and dad divorced or separated in 2006. I was in 9th grade. The night coming back from my first day of school, mom came down to me and being like, hey, I'm divorcing your dad. I was like, well, that's a great way to start your school year.
Yeah.
So dealt with a lot of that.
Do you have siblings at this time?
I do. Yeah, I have 3 sisters technically, 2 half sisters and 1 full biological. The one who's full biological is 13 months older than me.
Okay.
So really love.
I was going to say,
yep, we were close to. I almost came out on her first birthday. I was a preemie. I was a month and 5 days early, regardless of trying to come out on my sister's birthday.
Are you and your sister close? Or are you and your sisters?
We are.
All of them?
Sort of. So cool. Me and my full biological sister, Rowan, we were really close. I had a lot of anger management issues when I was younger, and she was my punching bag, in both physically and verbally. I don't like that I was, but she was also kind of like, she took it, which I think made it worse because she didn't fight back until we started taking Taekwondo, and then she learned how to defend herself. So, and she was very good at that. Yeah. She put a lot of people, myself included, in their place when needed. So she learned a lot from that, which was really good. My 2 other sisters, they grew up in Texas with their mom.
What part of Texas?
Lubbock.
Okay, right on.
So yeah, visited them a couple of times, but we lost connection with them during my school years. because they had a really bad relationship with their dad, my dad. And it just was not a good, conducive situation for them to, it wasn't healthy.
Sure.
Yeah.
For anybody. And it wasn't until we were adults that Katie and Heather started to come back into our lives slowly. Like we talk once a year, once every couple years. And then, because Heather went through her own addiction story, and I don't know the details behind all of that, but I know that she went sober and found her current husband. And so we were invited to their wedding.
Nice.
How many years ago was that? 2-3 years ago now?
Okay.
So, yeah. So I'm close to them, talk to them infrequently, but I definitely still try to keep in contact with them. And Rowan lives in town, so I see her on the regular with my nephews, because I have 2 lovely nephews.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're cute.
So, divorced in 9th grade, you have 3 sisters. What did you notice a shift? Like, hey, for your sobriety or lack thereof, what was the age the addiction started becoming an idea, at least?
So I was in 10th grade when my first addiction happened. My first addiction was actually ibuprofen.
Okay.
My dad had very high standards for me and my sister back in the day. Like, if we didn't come home with straight A's, there was something wrong. So, like, being an A/B student was the standard and the goal, and anything lower than that was like, what's going on? And he had a hard time, like, now that I'm an adult, but he had a hard time portraying that as kids. So, like he really set high standards for us. He wanted us to always be good at everything we did.
Did you find your value in that? I have kids, and so I think about that often.
Yes, I did. Like, and even to this day, like, I have issues, like, I'm going to let him down. I'm going to let somebody down because I didn't live up to the expectations that was given to me in my, 16-year-old
Do you
brain.
feel like as a kid that you didn't live up to the expectation?
Yes. Yeah. That's why I did. That's why I started taking ibuprofen, because when my parents split, I spent the first year with my mom, and then my mom moved out of state with my sister, and I ended up living with my dad for my 10th grade year. And my dad didn't believe in sick days. So every morning I'd pop an ibuprofen to make sure I didn't have a sick day. And it just became a habit, and I did that my entire 10th grade year. Every day, popped an ibuprofen before going to school.
At that time, you're just managing the concern of, like, I don't want to piss Dad off.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to upset Dad, because, like, Dad had Dad didn't believe in sick days. And it's like, hey, I have a 100-degree fever. It's like, push through it. You can go to school. It's like, no, I feel like I'm not going to be mentally there.
And what grade you said this is 10th grade?
10th grade was when this happened, yeah.
Okay. So how old is that? Was that
It's like
15?
14, 15.
15. I think it was 15. I was on the younger end, because I'm born in May. I was on the younger end of the
I was on the older
grade.
end of high school, so.
Yeah. No, so I think it was 15 was when I started taking the ibuprofen on the regular.
Did you see any problem with it?
I was going to say,
No.
and was there a problem?
I didn't see it as a problem because I saw it as a means to make sure my dad never got mad at me.
Right.
Like, I saw it as a way that if I were to not get sick days, he'd praise me more or say I was doing a good job. And
That is
so-
heavy, dude.
That's crazy, because when someone says, especially in this space, like, my addiction started with ibuprofen, the immediate concern is like, okay, man, let's talk about real addiction. But when you think about, no, my addiction started with ibuprofen because I was looking to make my dad love me, and I found my value in whatever my dad said my value was.
Yep.
And this was my way to self-medicate and position myself as lovable, in front of my dad.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Well, it's the inner child. It's your inner child,
Yeah.
and that's like, that's crazy, man.
Let's clip that, dude.
I can totally relate to that too, because I have a very strong father, that I feel like had high expectations.
Yeah.
And I just didn't really understand those expectations,
Right.
So, and kind of transpired into a high amount of codependency,
Yeah.
And we'll get there, but do you have kids now?
No, I don't want kids.
Fair enough.
Don't want kids?
Yeah.
You said you don't want kids?
I don't want kids. No, I've got my nephews, and I'm quite content having them and then giving them back to Rowan.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there you go, man.
All right, so you're 15, living with your pops. Right?
Yep.
Ibuprofen.
Yep.
Let's go from there.
So I did that, and that was really when I started trying to be friends with everybody, because I went from a small school of 300 people total to a school where my graduating class was 400.
Got it.
Here?
Yeah, I went from
Krause?
I went to junior high in Wellington when it was still junior
Okay,
high, where it was
geez.
7 to 9, and then
You guys
when I was
maybe- you guys probably had cows in the back.
probably something like that. Our water was utter garbage. Like
crazy.
it was bad. Like, but no, I did that, and then I moved to Fort Collins High School. School of choice to Fort Collins
Still
High
with
School.
your dad.
Yeah. So like in Wellington, I was with my mom. When I moved to Fort Collins, I lived with my
Got it.
dad.
Okay, I'm with you.
So yeah, because my dad moved to Fort Collins in an apartment at the time when everything was going down. And then, yeah, had my friends group. Most of them were theater kids. That was my main group of people because I went to school, because again, codependency. I had a really good friend that I made in 4th grade that when she chose to school of choice to Fort Collins, I chose to follow her and completely leave everybody else behind because she was my closest contact. Like I was literally like her minion of sorts. And it kind of blew up after high school. We took a couple months apart and then came back and reset our like adult lives of like, this is how we're going to interact with each other now as adults. Yes. But in junior high and high school, I was very dependent on her because she was the extrovert of everybody, even though our entire group was like introverts. She was the extrovert.
Well, she's probably what you didn't have.
Exactly. Yeah.
And were you a theater kid?
No, I was a math student.
Okay, right.
Okay. It was really funny. I was the math kid with,
Mathlete?
Yeah, not mathlete, but I just have fun with numbers, data, anything like that.
Awesome.
So,
God bless you.
Yeah.
Seriously, dude, like, I wish I had that brain.
Yeah, no, I love that type of stuff, like the problem solving, detail oriented. That's very much my jam. So I did that, and then I guess a lot of things happened in high school. It was when I finally got diagnosed with bipolar.
How old were you?
When did I officially get diagnosed? I think I was diagnosed officially at 16.
How did that feel?
Like I finally had some answers. My mom had suspected I had bipolar or something because her side of her family, like I'm 4th or 5th generation bipolar in my family. My mom's bipolar, my grandfather was bipolar. Pretty sure one of his parents were bipolar. So
was this diagnosed actually diagnosed through
the doctor?
Yes, it was diagnosed by a doctor finally, and
not by you, but like your whole family lineage, like that. Was it diagnosed throughout your family as well?
No, it was diagnosed because I kept because when my parents split, I went from anger management child to depressive child.
Yeah.
My entire personality shifted completely when that happened, and so so my junior year, I ended up moving out of state with my mom. My sister and I kind of did a flip of who we lived with parents, and I was out in Illinois when I finally got diagnosed by somebody being like, "Yeah, you're bipolar." And at
I'm sorry to cut you off. What did they? What were you exhibiting that they said, "Hey, you need to be looked at"?
So
specifically, if you can go into that.
That's fine. I'm gonna be honest with you. One of my coping skills back in the day was to forget bad memories. So even before the alcohol, I have really bad memories of like specifics sometimes, and other things I can be really good at remembering. So my brain will cherry pick. So I'm gonna be as best as I can to answer this.
Please.
But basically, I had the anger management issue, but like I would go through roller coasters. I was massively going through a lot of roller coasters, the anger, the obsession, like the manic and the depressive episodes. And I was doing a lot of that, especially in those high school years. Thankfully not. I wasn't hearing voices, thankfully. I wasn't doing any of that, but I definitely was going through the motions of like, one day my mood would be this, a couple hours later I'd be here, and this, and that, and this, and...
You're not using at this point?
No, I'm not using yet. I just, and other than the ibuprofen, but I wasn't using anything yet. And within my first year of being diagnosed with bipolar, I was on 7 different meds.
Jesus Christ.
That's so tough. I can identify with everything that you're saying. The same thing, and I've said it before on a podcast, someone once told me, a person with high blood pressure doesn't know they have high blood pressure until they get low blood pressure. And the same thing with the depressive and the manic. Like, you don't know. That's just not, you think that's how people operate.
Exactly. Yeah. I thought that was normal.
Yeah. And then they start throwing pills at you. And I say they because it's at some point, it worked. Like, finally there was something that worked for me. But the process of getting there is brutal.
It is brutal.
So keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I want to just identify there.
No, thank you. And yeah, it was like, because part of the reason why also I didn't start meds before then, because preteens and everything like that, you start psych meds on them, it changes the chemicals in their brain to begin with. Like, I already had a chemical imbalance because of the bipolar, but at a younger age when you're dealing with hormones and the growth and all that other things, my dad was very adamant about not taking meds at that point. So when I lived with my mom and lived out of state, we were finally able to break free of that and actually be able to find the help that I needed. Even though the meds, again, 7 different type of meds, I was on 2 meds at a time trying to figure out combos and all this.
Every 30, 60 days they're yanking them.
And changing doses and all that stuff. And
your dad was against the medication. Was there something, was he ultra religious? Was there something that pushed him away?
So his parents split when he was a kid. And his stepmother was in and out of therapy, psychiatrist, and they just kept pilling her.
So that was his anti.
Yeah, and he saw that, and he was just very anti-pill at that point.
Fair enough.
And he also doesn't really believe in mental illness.
That's tough.
So he's working on it. But and now that I'm in my 30s, he's now looking at it. But like, it's like back, like he just doesn't believe that. Like his favorite motto that will bug me to the day I die is change your attitude. You have 5 minutes.
Yeah, man. So
Tell it to a bipolar person. He's like, tell it to a bipolar person whose roller coasters are going like this every 2 seconds.
So you're where are you at? What state was this again?
Illinois at this time.
And you're with mom.
Yep.
And you're diagnosed.
Yeah. And things kind of went a turn for the worst. I ended up dropping out of school, saying I was going to be homeschooled. So I spent the second semester just kind of staying home, watching TV, sleeping all the time. Like at that point, I was sleeping 14, 16 hours a day because I didn't want to leave the house. And I became agoraphobic at the time. My mom tried to take me to the grocery store at one point just to get me out of the apartment. And within 5 minutes of stepping into the store, I had a massive breakdown panic attack that we had to leave.
What's that? What is it?
Agoraphobic.
When you're afraid of leaving your house.
Exactly. Yeah, you're afraid of leaving your
It's
house.
a phobia of leaving your house, going too far away from your house.
Yeah. And I developed a really big one of that when I was in high school. So.
Well, I met you at a networking event, so.
Which is crazy, right?
Right.
Talk about transformation.
Right. I credit how to win friends and influence people on how I know how to talk to people. And I can get into that when I'm in my 20s because
Yeah.
that was part of my story was in my 20s. I listened to that book every year for 5 years.
It's a good book.
It's a great book.
Yeah. I learned something new every year I did it. So
Was it, I'm going to fast forward here and I
good.
apologize.
No, you're good.
Did it start with alcohol? What was the...
So it started with smoking cigars because again I was the youngest person in my grade, or one youngest. So at 17 I started smoking prime times with my friend who was 18, and then at 17 also all my friends were 18. We had graduated high school, and we had a friend whose parents were okay with getting into their stash as long as we never drove home.
What stash?
Alcohol
stash.
The alcohol stash. Yeah, we were allowed to have all of the alcohol that we wanted at their house. At their house, yeah, but we weren't allowed
But you
to
got to
leave.
stay.
Yeah, we had to stay. Like there was the fishbowl situation. Like we put our keys in there, you're not allowed to leave. And so I started drinking when I was 17, because it was just the normal. And back when I was in high school, my parents tried to what's the word I'm looking for? Like make it seem like alcohol wasn't that big, scary, like unknown. Because at 15,
the taboo.
the taboo, it wasn't taboo. Thank you. That was a word I couldn't come up with. But basically at 15, my sister and I were both able to have like half of a daiquiri, like those old school daiquiris.
At 15?
Yeah. Just to have half of it just so that we just knew what it tasted like, knew we didn't want it. But at 17, at that point, everyone is drinking and everything. And I'm like, oh, this is normal.
Peer pressure kind of situation.
Yeah, peer
like
pressure.
It's totally a different environment.
It is, yeah, because like everyone's doing it. The parents are allowing us.
Did you actually enjoy it?
Yes, at the
You
time
did?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, when I first started drinking, half of Mike's got me drunk.
Yeah.
By
Get
the
that
end
social
of it.
lubricant where you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I could be the person I
And
wanna
that's when
be.
my extrovertness started really happening.
I was
When
gonna
I was
say,
able to
where's that
become
connection, right, that you're like,
I was
oh.
actually able to talk to people. I was able to socialize. I was able to do all these things that, as my personal self, wasn't able to really do because I'm a massive introvert.
Right.
So having that lubricant to be able to talk to people really helped. And I started drinking, and then I turned 21 in Fort Collins, especially back in the early 2010s. All the bars, all the party clubbing, and all that stuff. And I was very much in that. I'd do karaoke. I'd go to the bars. I tested something because as a chick, I wanted to see how many free drinks I could get in one night. And I brought a $20 bill, didn't spend a single dollar.
Sure.
I had everyone else buying me drinks. So I brought my ID and a $20 bill.
I'm so mad at chicks like that, dude.
I'm
like, you fuck.
I mean, I was willing to pay for my own drink. I was kind of the mom.
I mean,
there.
good for you.
But I just did a social test.
I fell for it. For you. I fell for it so many fucking times, dude. I get so... I'm like, God damn it!
And I was always with friends. Like, I never drank alone, really, unless I was at home. And I would come home from school and have, like, my favorite drink at the time was Simply Mango and dragon fruit rum, Bacardi. At this point, I was in my 21, because I was able to buy my own alcohol at that point.
And how old are you today?
I'm 34. Well, I will be 34 in May. I'm
Happy early birthday.
Hey, thank you. Close enough. So I'm 33 right now. And so I started drinking when I was 17, and I drank until just a month before my 30th birthday.
Okay.
And I was drinking for 13 years pretty heavily.
Every day?
Not every day. What would I like? It morphed over my time. Like I did drink every day, and then I was like, okay, I need to cut back either because I feel bad or my budget just wouldn't allow me to drink.
Would you cut back? Could
Sometimes, occasionally, like I would be able to have like one drink a night type of thing. I would buy. That was when I started buying alcohol for my house because it was cheaper to buy the alcohol for the house than it was to go out to a bar and buy a $12 cocktail. So like I could get a 6-pack or like a Bacardi thing for like $12 at the time, you know? So it was cheaper to buy it for home. And at that point I was drinking nightly.
When did you think, I don't want to skip ahead, so feel free to go backwards. When did it cross your mind, like, this is a problem? Or maybe like you started raising an eyebrow, like, maybe I ought to do something different?
So it happened a couple of times in my journey. I went sober 3 times in my 20s and would relapse for one reason or another. The first time was because I worked in oil and gas, and the stigma was drink at trade shows, and I just got sucked into that. It was like the hazing was to see how drunk you could get and still function. And then I lived in Washington State back in 2020, and I drove home from Seattle to Renton. It's about a 30-minute drive after having 4 Irish mules at a bar that I went to with a friend. And I drove home in that state. I'm all like, that was a dumb idea. And so I stopped back then.
So just wisdom says, okay, I'm making foolish decisions. I should probably
stop. But I'm also a very stubborn individual. So I know, right? So I started drinking and driving pretty much immediately.
Yeah. So how long did you stop for after the Irish Mule incident?
Irish Mule, I did it in June, and then I started drinking again in December. So that one was not a very long stint.
So in December, that's not terrible though. I mean, that's 6 months. Right?
Did anything happen that like, or it was just like this this realization of like, oh shit, that was a really bad idea?
It was just a recollection of like when I drove home. It's like, how the hell did I drive home in that state? Like, because Seattle city traffic is different than
totally.
Like it's like if you imagine Denver, imagine that like 10 times worse, and like it would bad. So it's like, how did I drive home at 75 miles an hour and not get any accidents?
Right.
So that was the indicator there. The first time was because of budgeting and health, and then that time was like that was dumb.
Sure.
And then I came back to Fort Collins because I had a friend group and I missed them, and I had an incident when around my mom's birthday when I came out. I realized I hadn't laughed basically the entire time I was in Washington. So I need to come back, and all my friends were still drinking. So when I came back, I started drinking again. Got it. And I will mention this now. It kind of goes into where I am. I ended up going into the hospital back in February of 2022 when I came back, because I was so irregulated on like meds, because I had a really crappy psychiatrist when I was in Washington. Like, she was horrific. And I was like not stable on any meds because I wasn't on meds at that time.
I was going to ask you that. Did you go off meds?
I did go off meds because the psychiatrist, like I was telling her I was having an allergic reaction to Rexulti. I was having these problems. My mania was all over the place. My depression, like I felt it in there. And she's all like, oh, well, we'll just take you off of it. And it's like, okay, what are we going to replace it with? Oh, we'll figure it out later.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I had a crack for that. So I came back and like I just needed 5 days to recenter, and I did, and they were able to get me back on meds. We were able to go through a couple of things, and I ended up having to live back with my dad. The living situation I'm in right now is a little wonky, but I'm currently living with my dad because rent is cheap. We'll take the rent is cheap thing right now. So I did that, and it wasn't the first time I'd gone to the hospital. My senior year of high school, I went in twice for suicide attempts. So it was one of those, like, I knew the hospital was going to help me, because I'd been in the hospital 21 days.
Can we pause? Yeah. I want to go backwards. Are you comfortable talking about the suicide?
Of course.
Okay. So
because it kind of does play into everything.
Absolutely. So 2 suicide attempts, right?
Yeah.
Was it? My suicide attempts were I was in psychosis, right? You said you were dealing with a lot of psychosis. Was it massive depression? Like what caused them?
So
you don't have to go. You don't.
No, it's fine. The first time I had a really big fight with my mom.
Okay.
And she stormed out of the house. And I'm all like, oh my God, I fucked up so bad. Why should I be here? What is going on? Pardon for the cursing. I just realized I did that. And then I.
So it's to me, it sounds like you disappoint your mom, and there's a massive amount of weight and self-hatred to like.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to be here.
Exactly. And I took a knife to my wrist.
Got it.
That night, my mom took me to the ER, and I ended up in the hospital for 11 days. A couple months later, I was having just a really hard time with my senior year. I had lost my cat of 9 years to bone marrow cancer. I was having issues with the friend groups, and just a whole lot of like self-worth issues. Like, why am I here? Like, especially since what happened in my junior year. And so I had planned an attempt, and I finally at one point, like, I was going to take sleeping pills at that point. Like, I was going to take an entire bottle of sleeping pills. And I finally was like, you know what? this is not what I want to do. So I ended up going to my counselor at the time at school and being like, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah. And they had to report it. So I ended up going to the hospital again for 10 days after that. And it was at that point where I finally got a therapist, a family therapist, a psychiatrist that actually knew what they were doing.
Did you regret going to it's important, right, to me? Because the last time I felt suicidal, I pulled over and I called my dad. I was like, hey, I feel suicidal. I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And looking back, obviously there's repercussions for being in that state where I had to go to the hospital, right? But that was the time that I thought, man, I did something right. Did you, when I say I did something right when I called my dad,
yeah.
Were you glad that you talked to your counselor?
I did. I did feel good because I knew that something had to shift. Because the first hospitalization didn't do quack.
They didn't do what?
Quack. It was a very poor experience. They basically, at the time in like 2010 when this happened, they were very much about outing people.
Who was? The hospital?
The hospital.
Yeah.
They thought that as part of my therapy, I should come clean that I was dating a girl to my dad, who is very homophobic.
It's tough.
Yeah. So that was exciting to tell him I was bi during a hospital visit.
Did they make you do that?
Yeah. They said it was part of my therapy. That it was supposed to be part of my therapy and supposed to help release things and help me feel better.
I think that's true in the right setting.
Yeah, or to the right,
not the right
to the right person too.
Exactly. Or not being forced to do it.
Yeah, because my mom knew. My mom's okay with all of this and everything. But like last weekend, my mom went to the drag show, so it was great. But like my dad just is not in the same vein, and it was supposed to be helpful. And sure, now my dad knows that when I say, hey, I think she's attractive, he knows that I'm thinking of maybe doing things. But at the same time, it's like, why did I have to tell him in this setting?
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of. I stayed in hiding for so long. I hid, right, and for things I shouldn't even have to hide for.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense for me to go to another person that I trust and say, hey, I'm hiding in this area. The guy would lead across from me. He was like, hey, I've done so much more and everything that you're talking about. You're safe here, and that like. I am safe as who I am and what I've experienced. But there are some people it's not okay to share your trauma with. It's just not safe to do. So that's fair. So can we get back? I just wanted to dip into the suicide things. So is there anything else that you want to
know? No, you're good.
You are, you stopped drinking once.
Yep.
Right. And then you got back, you started drinking with some friends again. Let's pick up from there.
Yeah, so I came back, and then in 2022 is when my drinking and driving, like, I knew, like, the question of, like, when was my trigger and everything, like, I knew multiple times in my 20s that drinking and driving was dumb.
Yeah.
I did not want to leave my car in a random spot or in Old Town Fort Collins because it could get towed. I was just like, if I drove, I was going to bring my car back. And that was just how I
dealt with it. It's so crazy because I exact same thing. You know, like I remember the night we'd be down at the bar and we'd be like, I'd hold up my keys and be like, who's the least drunk?
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
We'd walk to IHOP when it was still downtown and then would walk back. And by that point, we were kind of sober and then I'd drive home. But like when I was later in my 20s, I didn't have the bar setting because I wasn't, young anymore.
Yeah.
But I would still drive home after 7 to 8 drinks.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was whiskey, it was the seltzers.
Anything, huh?
When I was 22, it was the first time I got blackout. I got blackout 3 times in my life. The first time I got blacked out was on a lot of different alcohol. So at that point, gin was the only thing I could drink.
Sure.
And then it morphed into rum again, and then whiskey was my final hard liquor of choice. And that's why I like Irish mules rather than other drinks. And I just was very much, I knew it was a bad idea, but I also knew that I needed something drastic to stop me from doing it. Because I was just too stubborn to care. Like, I knew I needed something drastic. And I will say this now, I never hit anybody, which I'm grateful for, because I know somebody who had lost their uncle to a drunk driver. It was a hit and run. And I learned this 2 years ago. So I was like, I'm grateful I was not that person. But what ended up making me stop drinking was a DUI.
I was just going to ask.
That was the big
one. Yep, that was the big catalyst. So the month, April 11th, actually, 2022, I was driving home from a bar, and it was on along 287, and I didn't notice my headlights were out. I had the thing on, but my headlights were both out. So my car betrayed me, is how I love to tell the story. My car betrayed me.
Or
it's okay.
It helped you.
It helped me, right? At that time, I was saying it betrayed me.
Yeah.
Now it's like, no, it was actually a good thing. And I was going this way, cop was going this way. He turned around, pulled me over. Could smell. that I had drunk a lot. And at that point, I was very unsteady. Like, I was always shaking. I knew I was never going to pass even if I wasn't drinking, I was never going to pass a roadside test. So I just asked for the breathalyzer.
Yeah.
When I got at the site, it was 0.136, I want to say.
Nice.
But when I was at the...
Sorry.
No, it got higher.
Props to that.
Yeah, it got higher because when you get pulled over for DUI, they take you to the jail, they wait 15 minutes, they make you blow into it, and that's your official breath.
Crazy.
And my official breath was 0.154.
Hi.
Yeah, double the legal limit.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh shit. And I almost spent the night in jail, but I called my sister Rowan, and she, at 3 o'clock in the morning, fetched my car and picked me up from jail.
She bailed you out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have to like pay.
Like a bail fee?
No, I don't think so. No,
Yeah.
but they just kind of like, you have $1,000, but you're going to have to deal with the courts on this one and everything. So I didn't really have
They
that.
wrap it up and...
Yeah.
Have you never had a DUI?
I had DUI when I was 20.
Okay.
Okay.
But I literally drank one drink of one beer and drove friends to the beer store. They were over 21 and I was 20 and I went to jail.
That's
Still
crazy.
still sober. Yeah. Of all the times. I'm telling you all the things. Like that's
is
the one.
one.
Yeah. And I called my wife. She was studying for finals and she was pretty pissed off. So anyways, that's
Yeah. No, you're fine now. Yeah. So DUI, did that. And then when I finally got charged, they dropped it down from a DUI plus headlights being out to just a DWAI. This was my first ever offense at all. I'd never had a parking ticket. I'd never had a speeding ticket. I'd never had anything. This was literally my first offense on ever. And I was very nice to the cop. I said, yes, sir, no, sir. You know, I was very like, I knew I fucked up when I blew the
You
breathalyzer.
probably thank your dad for that moment. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. No, sir. Yeah.
It's like, pardon my language, but this one, like, it was, I messed up big time.
Yeah.
And so when they dropped it down to a DWA, I was like, I'm not even going to fight this. Like, I messed up. I knew I messed up. So I went and got charged with that. I still had to go through track B. There's A, B, C, and D through the DMV that you have to deal with as far as like how many community hours you have to do, how many therapy sessions you have to do, how many classes, how many this, how many that. And I ended up having the interlock for 2 solid years because I blew so high. Like even with the DWA, I blew too high to not warrant the max amount of time for the interlock, which at the first offense is 2 years. So I dealt with that, and that was mind-opening. And I've been sober since, so I spent 4 years, over 4 years now, I can say that.
Did you go to rehab?
No.
No.
Never went to rehab, never went to AA.
Was anything court-ordered as far as that?
I had to go through my counseling center to do it was 12 weeks of classes, like intensive classes with like a booklet to like know the science behind what's going on, why you do things, like journal
Was
things
it
out.
through a new perspective?
No, I don't remember what it was. It was just through Summit Stone.
Okay.
It was just through, my counseling center and where I go for like my psychiatry sessions and stuff. So it was like all tied in, and I had to do that. And then I had to do like counseling. So like overall, it was 54 weeks of doing everything like that. So I did that, but I honestly am very grateful they never made me go to AA, simply because I had a stalker that last I knew was in AA here in Northern Colorado, and I don't want to run into him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which is why I never went to AA, never wanted to. And
So there's no spiritual experience behind your sobriety. You
No,
decided it was logical.
it was all logical, and like this personal accountability, the self discipline. That's what really got me through my sobriety. Because again, being stubborn, I wanted to show the world I could actually do it.
Sure.
So it's like and the first 3 months were miserable, like detoxing with meds and the alcohol getting out of my body. Like my roller coasters, my anger, my so many things were just off the charts. And so this was also around the time my sister Rowan was getting married. So I have 2 sisters now married, but Rowan was getting married first. And what really hit hard with my sobriety and not being sobriety, and one of the reasons why I'm still sober, is because when I was supposed to be my sister's maid of honor for the wedding, but she removed the title from me because of I wasn't there for her like she needed it. Like she was expecting the maid of honor to be there emotionally, physically, do all those things. I'm like, I just couldn't because I was going through detox. My body was physically detoxing, and I couldn't focus on anybody other than myself for the first couple months.
Sure.
So that was hard. But in the long run, like my family is the big reason why I'm still sober.
Yeah.
Because I look back on it, my mom and I had this discussion a couple months ago. It's like, if I had not gone sober, I probably would not have had the relationship with my nephews that I do.
Of course. Yeah.
Like I would not have had that because, I would be irresponsible, and especially with drinking and driving. My sister would not want me driving her kids around.
That's respectable.
Dude, that's like props to you for realizing like what could have happened. Right? This is the like when we talk about defining your own rock bottom, right? Like this is exactly what we talk about.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you have that freedom and that capability to be like, no, this is enough for me.
Yeah.
Like this is not, and you know, like really before your life, I mean, a DUI. I've been in that position, and that sucks. That's a very hard thing to deal with.
Okay.
But really, dude, like it could have been so much worse.
It could have.
You
I could
know?
have hit somebody.
Right. And it's like your wherewithal, like your mental wherewithal to be like, nope, I've blown past these standards in my life and I'm going to come back to that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
So you're very active in the sober space today, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's because of your experience, your recent, I say recent, your past experience,
Yeah.
most recent past experience with alcohol.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your journey from where you left off to your activity and what you do today and how active you are in the sober space?
Yeah, so basically the first 2 years I was still going to the bar. I was having my Heineken Zeros. All my friends in my 20s were either bartenders or druggies or, you know, very active people in that regard. So I went to a bar and would have the Heineken Zeros. And about 2 years into my sobriety, I'm like, you know what? I want nothing to do with drugs and alcohol. Nothing. So I cut that friend group out of my life, which was hard because they were there for me during my probation. And it felt really like I was betraying them because I'm like, I'm doing this. But like my good friend at the time, he got pulled over for a DUI himself, but he also got possession in Wyoming.
Oh, fuck.
So, but he's a vet. Yeah, I know. Possession and a DUI.
I want to go back. I'm so sorry. I want to keep digging in.
Okay.
Was it hard for you? We're going to go pick back up, but was it hard for you to, do you feel like it was hard to be friends when you weren't drinking with the same people you used to drink with? Like, was your friend, I felt like when I stopped drinking, the friends that I was drinking with were like, these aren't even friends. These are just guys I like to get drunk with.
That was my first friend group. I had 2 friend groups during this entire period.
Okay,
The friend
okay.
group I came back from Washington. When I went sober, basically, I stopped. I would invite them to do things like I wanted to go out and have lunch or dinner and have just times. And they're like, oh, we're busy. And then they'd post pictures in the group being like, hey, we went out to do this. And I'm all like, I asked you guys if you wanted to hang out.
Yeah, and they were cutting you out because of that.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I don't need this toxicness in my life. So I left that friend group and I made a new one. Or I had a second friend group, the bartenders and everything. And the bartenders and them, when I left that group, it was hard. It was really hard. And but I felt like it was going to be better for me because I wasn't going to risk going back, which was what happened in my last couple relapses. I would come back to drinking or something. So
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Did leaving those friend groups, did that trigger anything from your past?
It did, because at that point, I had no friends outside of my guild in World of Warcraft, which are people all over the States.
World of
That's
Warcraft.
online.
Yeah.
I freaking loved World of Warcraft in college.
Did you get into
It was not
That's
okay.
hilarious.
I went
I'm sorry. My brother was into it, and we just made fun of him.
I loved World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I started that when I was in high school. My dad got the first expansion. And
Did
we
you
played-
play Warcraft, the original Warcrafts?
No, just the World of
So
Warcraft.
I was a kid, I played the original Warcraft, and then I went to World of Warcraft. Anyways,
Yeah, no, it was great. But like those were my friends. So like for 7
Online.
months
Yeah.
after, because at that point I went 7 months without leaving my house other than work. I would go to work, come home, play World of
and
Warcraft.
what was work?
At the time I was working for Ziggy's Coffee as a franchise trainer.
Okay, got it.
So my experience is education training, stuff like that. That's my background. That's what I went to school for. Even if I didn't finish my degree, I was going to become a math teacher. That was what I wanted to do when I was early 20s. So education has always been in my blood. I love doing that. But basically, it did trigger a lot of things because I'm like, I had to as I told before, I didn't have an identity really because I was always trying to fit into the different groups. So I spent 7 months, 2 years into my sobriety being like, who the French toast am I?
Yeah.
Who am I? What do I want in life? And this is when I really determined, I didn't really want a relationship. I was focusing on myself. Like if I get into a relationship, cool, I'm now to that stage where that's like, if it happens, it happens. But back then I didn't want anything to do with another person romantically. I really found out that I had certain standards, like the religion, the politics, I found out who I was there, which I'm very kind of in the middle. So, and then I just kind of really like defined for myself what I wanted as far as who I surrounded myself with. And it took 7 months. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm now to the stage where I can kind of try to go socialize again, but I don't want to socialize with the same people. And that's when I found Meetup. And I'd use Meetup in high school. My dad and I used to do game nights and stuff with Meetup back in the day. So I'm like, I know this is an app where I can find what I'm looking for. And that's how I found the Alcohol-Free Social Network. They were having an ice cream social like a week or two after I looked into it. I'm like, oh, I'll go to that. It says sober.
Colorado?
Yeah, it was at an ice cream shop here in Loveland.
Cool.
And I went there and I met a lot of really good people. I went with Brianna, and Brianna was asking, you know, what events do people think they want to do? And that's how I ended up becoming a co-organizer, is because like I like game nights and hiking. It's summer, it's nice to do that. So I became a co-host for that, and that really helped me like be able to go out to the mingles and meet new people, meet new friends. That's how I met my good friend Teresa and Elizabeth. And that's really what sparked my journey into the sober space here in Northern Colorado.
Okay.
Because before, like living in Fort Collins, I know all my old haunts, which is why I want to get out of Fort Collins as quickly as possible, which will happen in the next year. I'm putting that into the ether. It's going to happen this year. But I'm basically looking and finding those spaces like all those events and everything, like the festival, and the sober space is like just going out and hiking with people who don't drink, you know. It's a very different experience than people who go hiking and end up at a brewery at the end, which is what most of the hiking groups do.
What have you found different in your conversations with the group of friends that you have now versus the group of friends that you were drinking with?
I would say I can remember most of my conversations now.
That's definitely a positive.
So I can remember that, but they're more meaningful connections.
Yes.
Like when you're drinking, the connection is the drink.
Right.
You have those people next to you at the bar, you have those conversations, but you never see them outside of the bar. With the sober spaces, you're making meaningful connections. I'm actually hanging out with people outside of the norm. You know, I'm going to dinner with people. I'm coming to have mocktails to have with people, and I'm meeting more people in the space that actually, like, I don't have a fear of handing out my phone number for the sense of a creeper.
Clip that.
Yeah.
Which is, again, with my stalking background, it's very hard for me to... I was very hesitant with people. I call them creepers because that's, in my mind, what they were.
Yeah.
So having those meaningful connections where I don't feel at risk of my own safety to hand out my number again, which took a long time.
Yeah.
Long time for me to be comfortable doing that.
So, I mean, given your past, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You're active professionally now in the sober space, right?
I am. Yeah. I've when did I make my LLC? 2 years? 2 years ago, I started my LLC for sobriety coaching.
What is that?
What's it called? Yeah.
It's called Inspirational Ginger LLC.
So good. I
I had fun with that name.
Every time I see it, it just like makes me smile.
So, I want to dig in there. So, what does it offer? What are you doing? What is it? What are the tools that you're using? Let's hear about it.
So basically, what I do in there is I focus more, again, because I didn't have like the spiritual aspect of my journey. I focus on the hard, like yourself and the self-trust that you have in yourself. So I focus a lot on habit forming, routine building, you know, being present with people. My fit is a parent. I work a lot with realities for children, and I see families. And
You said your fit is a parent?
My ideal client, I guess. Like
her ideal client is a parent.
Oh,
Yeah,
is a parent.
Yeah,
I was like, what's a parent about it?
That's what I thought she said first too.
Oh, sorry, not it.
Mom or dad.
A space parent.
Oh, gotcha. So the perfect fit for a client is a parent.
It is, yeah.
Got
And
it.
basically, because I worked with realities, I was involved in the Matthews house. I've seen what happens to a family dynamic. Even in my own dynamic, like again, I almost lost my relationship with my entire family during those couple months of detox. I had an outburst, and my sister came to my room after that. I was like, "You do that again, I'm no longer talking to you." So it's like, even though I'm not a parent, I still know how it affects the family dynamic, and I really want to make sure that families can stay together. If obviously you want safety, but like if that's the only thing that's really causing the hiccup or the issue, I want to be able to keep families together as much as humanly possible in a safe space. So I work with parents. I start off with 12 weeks. I think 3 months is a good starting point for people who have never done coaching before or have never had to do like one-on-one private sessions and talk deep about their problems with alcohol. So anything longer than that at the beginning, I feel can is a barrier that I want to break. I want to be able to help people, you know, succeed in their lives. So I start with 12 months, have a legacy, or 12 weeks.
12
wow.
weeks, yeah.
Words. And then I have a legacy program for them to stay longer once they see that coaching can actually help them through that. So basically, over the last couple of years, I've been reading a couple different books about alcohol and addiction, and I'm using Udemy courses to get like...
Go backwards. What,
asked
I was
me.
going to ask you, tools. So
Yeah, tools,
What
yeah.
books are you reading?
Yeah.
So one of the books, it was, oh shoot, what was the book called?
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Again, my brain is
I
can
put
remember
you on the spot.
can remember some things and other times it can't.
There's a microphone and cameras now, so it's
Yeah,
out
right.
there.
The pressure is real.
Yeah,
That pressure is real. Basically, the tools I use overall are things that I've done.
Yeah.
Tools I've used in my past, like building a schedule. Like I have so many different schedule things. The to-do list, I have fancy to-do lists or stuff, or I'll buy something on Amazon and I'll write out my to-do list there. Exercise is a big thing for mental health, especially. Like one of the first things when I got diagnosed with bipolar is like you have to be physically active to help with the roller coaster. So I do believe that exercise plays a role, but it doesn't have to be something strenuous. It can be hiking, walking, riding your bike, leisure. Yeah, just leisure stuff. You don't have to do like the weightlifting, heavy stuff. So basically, what I do is I spend the first week or two figuring out what exactly they're doing. Like, what is their current routine? What are their current habits? I don't change anything. I just want awareness at the beginning. Because that's the first step is like being aware. Once you start jotting down what you do on an hourly basis, like, wow, I should stop doing that.
It's crazy. Yeah, if you guys have never done that, seriously, log your entire day, like down to the minute.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's wild.
As you say that, I'm like,
Yeah, it's
The time
terrifying.
audit.
Like,
Yeah,
you
the time
look back and you're like,
Yeah. I do time audits every couple months, and it's like every time I cringe. It's
what's
like
a time audit look like?
So time audit, basically what you do is you literally log every hour what you do.
Every hour?
Yeah, so I guess like at 8 a.m. I wake up. So I'll write down I woke up at 8 a.m. At 8:30, I eat breakfast. At 9 a.m., I start work. And then you can, like, if you want to get detailed, like what you do during work, because sometimes the time audit with work also like helps you identify where you can be more productive in the workspace.
Yeah.
So like, I answered emails, I had a meeting, I did this, I did that. And then it's like after work, I picked up my kids from school at 3:30. I went to the gym at 4. I had dinner with them. I watched a movie. That's basically what a time audit looks like, is you're literally, whenever you start something new, you jot down the time and what you did.
It would be hard to what
I definitely-
dude, for you it would be like almost every 5 minutes.
It would be, but
Yeah.
sounds necessary.
So Google, this is Gmail. I love Gmail because they actually have a time audit slider on your calendar. So basically, if you color code your calendar, it will show you exactly to the minute where your time is being spent.
You guys are stepping on my toes. Okay, so
Come on, bro, let's go.
anyways, keep going.
Because I'm master at wasting fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, and
so-
it's great to just become aware of that. And that's what I spend the first couple weeks just figuring out where they're at.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can start changing habits. I focus on one at a time. The old standard was 28 days to change the habit. And nowadays, I hear that it's 66. And I blame technology for that, especially cell phones. I believe that.
The distraction.
You blame
Yeah.
technology for the change in the
In the time, because it used to be 28 days and now it's 66.
With the amount
Because
of
like
distraction,
like they're not, like people aren't really as attentive anymore. But I really honestly feel like if you actually want to put in the work, 28 days is still reasonable.
Right.
Like as simple as brushing your teeth, doing showers.
Do you have habit books?
I'm in the process of making them.
Of writing one?
Yeah.
Oh, we meant like ones that you read or use.
That's cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No,
You
I'm
should
writing.
definitely let us know
Like I'm
that
reading,
stuff.
like I'm writing a tool book. Like I'm using Canva to like make the pages and stuff, and eventually I'll combine it all into one like workbook type thing that people can use. But as far as habit books, oh god, I have so many because my dad believes in
Top
so many.
3.
Level Up by Rob Dial Jr. is a really good one. It talks about procrastination. Oh shoot.
Yep.
How to Win Friends and Influence People, man, is
That's
like,
a good one,
that,
too.
that I just will plug that book in every time I can. It's a thick book, but it's so worth it in the end.
What about Atomic Habits is a good one.
I have not read Atomic Habits, but I did read some of their, like, I used to get their emails, and then it just got to the point where I just was getting so many emails. I'm like, I'm not reading you anymore. But I have
that book.
Yeah,
That's a good
I'm
one.
pretty sure I've used a lot of tools in Atomic Habits based on what I've seen and read, but I haven't physically read that book itself. But I do think that it's good. I'm reading one right now called No Excuses by Brian Tracy.
Okay.
It talks about like self-discipline and different areas. There's 21 different areas in their life, like work, money, personal fitness, personal health, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Like it starts with some stories and then it gives 7 action steps at the end of each chapter.
I love that. That's the kind of books I love.
I do too, man. Like, I need a little bit of the, like, give me
Give
going.
me like a story.
And then I'm like, here goes the work, you
When
know?
you're reading a book of that nature, stories stick better than
Totally.
just the textbook.
Yeah.
I read a
Mind
book
is
that was
creative.
basically a textbook based. It was The Power of One More.
Yeah.
It was completely
Yeah.
textbook based, and it was so hard to get through.
Yeah,
it was
it is.
so hard to get
I
through.
actually am trying to read that book right now.
It's on Hoopla for free. Like, I listen to the audiobook
I can't
because I
listen
drive
to
so
it,
much.
dude.
You ever read The Body Keeps Score? I'm sorry.
That's a good.
I am currently reading that one right now. I have it in my backpack, actually.
I read that one like a textbook. I would like go through like, okay, this topic, like the
Yeah.
topic of meditation. And
Well, they even say in the book, it's like it's designed to be like
Textbook,
depend
yeah.
on what you're looking for. When I read a book, I learned this early on from my dad. Again, I got a lot of good habits from him. But again, that stigma of like needing to be the best of the best is a little bad. But basically what you do is when you read a book, first time you read through it, you just read through it. You read through it as quickly as possible. The second time is when you actually start like jotting things down, doing the prompts, doing all the things. And then the third time is when you actually like find those 1 to 2 things in the book that you want to work on and then practice that. So I take that practice still when I'm reading any type of professional
read a
book.
book.
You'll read a book 3 times.
Not all at once. Like, I'll read a book thoroughly, and then, like, I did this with How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would listen to the audiobook because you can find it free on YouTube, or I would listen to it, or I would read the physical book. And I'd pick 1 to 2 things that I wanted to practice on that year on how to talk to people. Because, again, I'm a trained extrovert because I wasn't good at it. And then the next year I read it again, and then I'd pick a couple more things out of that. So when I'm going through books, I don't read it 3 times all at once.
Right.
I read a book, read another book, read a few books. My goal is to read more books this year. So I'm trying to finish like a book or 2 in a week, or in 2 weeks. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Like a book every 2 weeks because it's better than not reading one
Listen,
at all.
book or 2 a week. God.
I know. I'm lucky if I get one in like every
Well, I was
6
reading-
months.
Hey, will you clip the her reading process too? That last one, like 15, 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, no, you're good. So basically, it's just one of those habits, and when you read something enough times, it'll stick with you, which is why I firmly believe reading a book more than once, especially when it's like a self-help or professional type book.
Sure.
So those are kind of the books that I'm reading right now. The Next Conversation is another really good one that I read recently. That one basically is like how to talk to clients and how to get those conversations and get those, those intakes. So, but I would have to say How to Win Friends and Influence People is on the top of my list of any type of book. Think Think and Grow Rich is another one I,
was
want to
gonna
That's
read.
a good one. Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
I read Think and Grow Rich like you read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I loved How to Win Friends and
Yeah.
Influence People.
Yeah.
Who's the author of
Dale Carnegie is How to
Dale
Win
Carnegie.
Friends, and then Napoleon Hill is
Napoleon Hill? I always thought that Napoleon Hill was a different Carnegie that he interviewed.
Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah.
Andrew, yeah, it was Andrew. And I thought it was the same person. I was like, oh, okay, so I'll just. And then, anyways,
They're OGs for a reason.
oh, absolutely. So you said the perfect fit as a parent.
Yeah.
Before I want to like kind of wrap up with who are you today? If someone is watching and like, okay, I could use a lot of help in this area. What does that person look like other than a parent? What are they going through? Who are you looking to serve?
So I'm looking to serve those people who are looking for a healthier lifestyle or sober curious. They are interested in cutting back for one reason or another, health, family, sanity. They notice that they need a change.
So
And
not
they
actively sober.
Not actively sober,
I
no.
love
They don't
that.
have to be actively sober. They can be sober curious. They could be after rehab. They could be before rehab. They could be after DUI. They could be before DUI. Basically, I just want to catch them.
In that moment
in
of
that
like
moment.
the desire of change.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude, I totally get
Yeah.
you.
So like that can happen, if somebody hits rock bottom,
Yeah.
like it did for me, or it could be like the story of like when I drank 4 of the Irish mules, and that's the point.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the loss of life.
No, it doesn't have to be at all.
Figuratively.
Right. Yeah, or just massive explosion in your life.
Yeah. Something happens in the family dynamic. Your wife or
See-
husband give you an ultimatum, and you're like, "Crud, I need."
This
to change
is
something."
actually, I'm so inspired, the Inspirational Ginger, by that, because what you're doing is we're catching people before.
The world burns down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what we didn't have. Right? Like we didn't have the education. Our parents, they didn't really know. Mental health wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
They were doing the best. So it's like we didn't have those tools. So if we can get that net, right, and catch those people a little bit earlier, then that's the whole point of everything that we do in the sobriety space.
I do love that. We had Duke. Duke is also in the sober space, and what I do love is, he goes into places where, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but it's the same concept. Like, hey, if you're looking, you're looking to have fun, and you're not sober yet, but you want to be in this place, you think, I need a break, or I need a redirection, and he's in the entertainment.
Yeah.
But these are life skills.
Right.
Right. This is, which if you still have a heartbeat, you got to have some kind of life skills if you're going to be a productive member of society, which I think the average person wants to have some kind of, productivity in society.
Like something outside of ninja skills.
Right. So I think it's great for any listener that, like Mitch said, if you see the road that you're on, you don't have to wait till you get to the end of it.
Right.
And there's people in this space that are like, hey, I don't, I remember I felt judged because my story wasn't bad enough.
Dude,
I know.
That's crazy.
That's stupid.
And your story doesn't have to be bad enough to get help today.
Yeah. And that's something I mentioned I had a couple showcases in the last couple weeks, and one thing I mentioned is alcoholism doesn't mean, that you're having those 7 to 8 drinks every single night. My grandfather on my mom's side, he would come home and have the same gin and tonic in the same glass for 18 years before he finally quit. It doesn't have to be like this grandiose, stigma of what you think an alcoholic looks like. It's just changing the habits and stuff. So
there's no way in life that whether it's alcohol, whatever it is that you're using, there's no way it makes it worse by getting off of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just is a good thing.
It is, yeah. It can be rough and
I was going to say, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's a hard path. I mean, you are restructuring your entire foundation.
Exactly.
That's a really tough thing to do.
Right? Because like I said, my entire adult life, up until my 30, I was drinking, and that was the norm.
Yep, exactly. And that's, I think, the biggest stigma to break is your own mental deal of okay, what is my life going to look like, right? Because that's the hard part. This is something that Cash told me, right? I'm going back through the AA steps right now, and this is something he's like, dude, most men and most people go through this process and have no idea what the other side looks like, right? You started this podcast, and God gave you a glimpse of what the other side of your road looks like.
The good part.
Right, the good part. A lot of us don't get that opportunity to see what that light looks like,
Yeah.
So it makes it extremely difficult to make that decision.
Yeah.
So the word that keeps coming to mind is inspired.
There's a reason it's in my
I've
name.
always been so inspired by you. And just it's so funny that you explain and you dictate yourself as an introvert, because that's not the person that I've ever known. And it's just this very bubbly, outgoing, willing to just go and do things,
Yeah.
I've always admired you for that.
Oh, thank you.
So, which obviously is not your natural state of being, right?
Yeah.
So
I think it can be. I think it's really cool because it didn't feel like it, but clearly you're doing great. Just because something was a weakness at one point doesn't mean doesn't become a strength.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we go, we have this thing that's closing, where we have the last guest write a question for you. This is kind of our closing thing, but before we go there, is there anything else you want to leave us with before you hop into this?
Anything else you want to add, plug? I have all your social media stuff, so we are going to plug all of her social media stuff. You'll be able to find her business through our page and all that. I'll get you all of that stuff.
Well, I guess one thing I want to leave with is destigmatizing sobriety is a big push for Beyond the Buzz, Shattered Darkness, and again, breaking that stigma that it is possible and that there is things that you can do and that it does exist.
Right.
And I just want to really reiterate that is possible regardless of your stage of sobriety or sober curiosity or lifestyle.
If you're asking yourself the question inside, just reach out.
Exactly.
And it's sobriety is trending.
It's fun. It can be a lot of fun.
And there's no better time in human history to get sober than right now.
There are studies that show Gen Zs are not drinking as much as as previous generations. It's happening.
I've been tracking alcohol sales for the last year.
Yeah, plummeting.
Yeah, it's going down.
Big time. So the writing is on the wall. I think people are starting to see it, and we get the opportunity to be pioneers in the space, that's the part of all of this I love the most.
Yeah.
So
sobriety cool.
Making sobriety cool, dude. My life
That's
is
the line
dope.
to say, dude. Life
is
can
dope.
be dope, dude. Yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to switch to this. So our last guest wrote a question for you to read out loud and answer. And then when we are off camera, we'll have you read a question for the next guest.
Okay. The question is 3 things you are most grateful for.
Who wrote the question?
Mike.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a D or a P at the end. Sorry.
It's a P.
Okay. It's like, it looks one or the other. 3 things I'm grateful for. 1 is a relationship with my immediate family. Like, I have a really good relationship with my sister, my mom. We're working with my dad, but I have a decent relationship compared to what it was back in the day. So I really, really appreciate that. I'm grateful and still have my family for that. I'm grateful to have a roof over my head.
Amen.
Again, if I almost lost my family, I could have easily lost that. And I'm really grateful every day that I'm able to be in a space where I can grow and save and have a space that's safe. Even if it's a little touchy sometimes, it's still a safe place to be in. And then I'm going to mention my cats. I have 2 little kitties. Those are going to be my babies. Like, I'm going to have fur babies for the rest of my life. But Jinx and Cortana have been with me through thick and thin. I had an old cat named Mowgli. He actually passed on my first year on sobriety anniversary. So my anniversary of sobriety is also his death day. And it's like, this is a lovely day, Mowgli. Thank you.
Right.
It's like, thank you for that. But I'm really grateful to have those emotional support animals in my life, because without them, I don't think I could have, stayed sane at all throughout everything. So
It's amazing.
I do love that. I had emotional sobriety dogs my first year, and it was a gift. Yeah. So,
they're really great.
Well, Amber, we just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this, for sharing your story and your vulnerability. I know we didn't really touch much on our pillars, but you, listener, you
definitely touched on it. You definitely touched
you can
on
hit
it.
almost all 6 of them in there. So we just want to say thank you for your time. And, I want to say personally thank you for always being involved in the stuff that we're trying to do and supporting us and all of that. It really means a lot.
You're welcome, Mitch. Yeah, no, it's been great.
Cool. So is there anything else you want to say before we end this episode?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. To you guys, the listener, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Shattered Darkness. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it. And reach out if you guys have any questions or you need anything.
Or you want to come on. If you want to come on.
For real. So, cool shit coming. We love you guys. We'll see you next week.